share with you some thoughts and some ideas in the continuing process of celebrating 100 years of the science of mind. And the topic today, as has been mentioned, is this idea of let us not fool ourselves. Now, if you are interested, you can look in the Science of Mind textbook concordance, either in the textbook, but if you have an older textbook, you're going to need to go to the concordance, which is a separate book. And on page 175, paragraph 2, you will find the chapter within the chapter titled, Let Us Not Fool Ourselves. So it's not a paragraph, and yet it's not a whole chapter, but I would say, and this is kind of a little hot, but I would say that Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the what came to be known as the Church of Religious Science, and the teaching being the science of mind, he felt that this idea was very important with us, with our teaching being grounded in spiritual and religious ideas, but that also our teaching is a science. And that puts a lot of responsibility on each one of us to learn how to practice this science. Now, as I'm looking around the room, the back of my mind is thinking, who is my audience? Because I don't know all of you very well, but I'm going to make a guess, and would you nod your head for me, that everyone in this room has been exposed to and studying and practicing the science of mind for a few years. Okay, good. So that's the answer to that question. Now, having gotten that confirmation from you, I am sure that you have all heard that Dr. Ernest Holmes was a lover of religions, philosophy, science, that he had a super inquisitive mind. He wanted to know about all of those topics. But when it came to world religions, the main ones that he studied, he said, I found that there is a thread of truth that runs through all religions. And so I am taking that idea, that thread of truth, that God is all there is. Now, backing up a little bit, Ernest had already gotten clear about a couple of things through two very significant people in his life. One was Mary Baker Eddy, who was Christian Science, and the other, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And through those two things, he said, I came to know that when I say that God is all there is, that this is the thread of truth that runs through all spiritual teachings and religions, and so I'm going to build on that. He was already clear about the idea that when he said God or spirit, or as in the Science of Mind textbook, he talks about the thing itself. He said, I know that what that is one invisible, infinite power, presence, all-knowing essence, energy, ground of being. Only one. And there's nothing other than that. That's the first thing. The second is that this thing itself over here that the whole textbook is describing and articulating what it is, that within that, this thing is a responsive power. it responds to our belief. Well, why? Because we're one with it. And so we hear over and over and over again that we are the very essence of good, that we are whole, complete, and perfect. Perfect God, perfect humanity, perfect me. That there's that within me that is whole, complete, and perfect. That is an idea, a concept, a truth, a reality that never changes. That's big, huh? I mean, you know, when we take that in whatever that brings up for us, the way, for me, the way that I feel that ground me into this knowing. Okay. And then he wrote, let us not fool ourselves. Because this one power, there is a power for good in the universe that is greater than I am at an individualized level, and yet I can use it. How am I going to use it? I'm going to use it to affirm, to know, to come to the place in the total part of my being, my spirit, my mind, meaning my mentality, my emotional being, and my physical being. That this truth has filtered through and transformed and released everything, anything and everything that is unlike that. Well, wouldn't that be nice? It's the truth. And when I say, wouldn't that be nice, what I mean to say is, you know, not to diminish that, but to say this is an evolutionary process that is ongoing all the time. And so what's the situation here? Kind of getting down to the basics. In the science of mind, we do not say everything is all right when it's wrong, when everything is all wrong. We do not say peace when there's no peace in our lives, or when there's not peace in our country or the world. But rather, we try to discover what is wrong and why we do not have peace. We ask why these things should be happening. Why should we be experiencing this when the truth is that there's one power, that everything that is taking place, everything that has been created and everything that is being expressed is an expression of that power in form, and an experience is a form. So he says, we do not say that people are not poor, sick, or unhappy. We ask why these things should be if the original cause of all things is harmonious, perfect, whole, complete, and free. Why? I bet a lot of us use that word as kids. Why? Why can't I? Why is it that way? Why do we have to have that for dinner? Why do I have to go to school? Why do I have to clean up? Why do I have to take a bath? Why? You know, why is the moon up there? Why is the sun? There's something in that childlike mind that is willing to ask why, that is a magical thing. So I'm wondering, when did I stop asking why? Did I stop asking why? But more importantly, where in my life am I not asking why? Why is it this way? Now, if as the principles say that there's one whole, complete, and perfect essence, that I've been created out of that there's nothing else opposing that, but here I am as a physical being in human form, and I have issues. I have conditions. I have experiences that don't always match up with that wholeness or with that wisdom or with love or peace or freedom or abundance or prosperity. The center has issues in the same way. Redwood City has issues. The state, the country, the world, the planets. So I go, these are things that are in form. These have a physical nature. These are always evolving and changing. Yes, they come out of this one infinite cause, but the other principle is that this universal invisible presence responds to my belief. So the why is, why am I believing that? What is it in me that is believing in some way, shape, or form that I am limited in any way? Where in my life do I not believe that? Because we always want to accentuate the positive, right? And yet, isn't it true that it is those things that aren't working that so get our attention? Okay, so be it. Why? Well, I can only say for me, why does it get my attention? Because it's uncomfortable. Because I don't like it. It's exasperating, or it's painful, or it's annoying, or if I really let myself ask why and sit with it, I can just get down to the point that says, I'm really angry about this. I'm sad about this. I'm frustrated about this. The beauty of that is that as soon as I begin to ask the question, because we know that the answer is in the question, that things from this infinite wisdom within me begins to rise up and point me in the direction of what I need to know. Now, Ernest Holmes tells us, and you've all heard this, a pill or a prayer. And if he says, and this is a concept, we can apply this to so many different things. If I'm going to take the pill, then as I'm taking it, do my spiritual mind treatment. Last week, we talked about healing is a revelation. When a healing takes place, when in my mind and my emotions and my physical being, the new belief that, what was the affirmation? I am a perfect expression of the divine. So then I can get more specific. My body is a perfect expression of the divine. My finances, my relationships, the operation of my car and the driver that gets behind the wheel when I go down the road is a perfect expression of the divine. When I sit down and I pay my bills, I am a perfect expression of the divine. And I know what it means to live a spiritual life. I have that prototype within me because I came out of this spiritual nature. And so there's something intuitive in me that knows, okay, get grounded, acknowledge, and feel it. For me, it's first feel in my body that I'm a perfect expression of the divine. Breathe into that. open my mind to knowing, as a perfect expression of the divine, how am I going to approach paying my bills? Is there something that I need to know about that? Do I understand the concepts of spirit first? And how that is connected to my belief. Am I coming from a place of holding back? Or am I coming from a place of order and balance leads to financial expansion? Because I give back from where it came off the top. In my physical being, how do I take care of myself? How do I take care of my physical body? My mind. How do I take care of my mind? How do I feed my mind? What do I watch? What do I listen to? What's the reason that I come to service? What's the reason that I pick up this book instead of that book? What's the reason that I consciously say, can't handle it any more news right now? Need to get back to center. Turning it off. Because we are amazing expressions of the divine. Now I want to just show you a little diagram to bring this home just a little bit further. And while this is coming up, I want to share with you another idea. You know, okay, there it is. We'll just go that because you're probably going to look at it anyway. Now, Joe tried to get this as a little bit bigger, and this part over here you don't need to pay any attention to, and I'm not even going to take the time to give credit where credit is due right now, but you will. With me as interim minister, you're going to see this a lot more in a whole lot of different things that we do. And so what we have here is called the creative process. And if we were to say, that I have a diagram of this one infinite presence, and it's a pancake, but within it is everything, this is just an unpacking of the pancake, all the ingredients, so to speak, that are inside. So now there are so many ways to use this and to talk about this, but today I'm going to talk about it strictly from the creative process, Spirit's ideal or idea at this spiritual level, moving down through us as spiritual beings having a physical experience, and then how that shows up. So the top part, number one, spiritual mind treatment. God is all there is. God is the infinite goodness, everywhere present, whole, complete, and perfect, and I am that. Right? I am that one infinite thing created out of the divine and ideal. So what that means to me is that in spirit, as my spiritual being, which is first, came first, in the ideal or in the idea contains everything that I need to live a happy, healthy, free, abundant, expressive, creative, joyful life. That's the ideal. And so as a human being, I have a mind, and that's the mental plane. Well, what begins to show up in my mind? Intuition. Where do I feel my intuition? Or where do I experience it? I might experience it in my mind. I might experience it in my emotional being and my physical body just as an idea that just fully presents itself. Do this. You ever been doing anything and heard that voice that says, you're done here? No? Okay. I don't believe it. Or a feeling. Because, see, this is the thing. It shows up differently for all of us. So at the mental plane, the idea becomes, is light bulb moments for me. Oh, I want to do this. I'm really interested in painting or drawing or music or creating, or, oh, I'm really interested in that person or that idea. We're just guided through these thoughts that come to us at the mental plane. And what begins to show up is an image of what that would look like, a relationship. I have an intuitive image of what that's going to be like, and it creates an image. It's my imagination. Now we're talking about demonstration. I have an image of something I want, an idea that I know is absolutely possible. And then it comes down into my emotional plane, and look at this, where my inspiration hits, right between my inspiration and my action, at the emotional plane, oh, conflict. Two different opposing ideas bumping up against each other. And I stop. I hesitate. I might feel self-doubt. I might think, it contained in self-doubt, oh my gosh, so many thoughts, right? In the category of self-doubt. And I feel apprehension. I feel scared. I feel hesitant. And so I stop and I go, well, maybe later. No, I can't do that right now. I don't have enough energy for that. No, I have this physical issue. Oh, I definitely don't have enough money to do that thing. And, oh, as far as changing my job or lifestyle or my 6 months from now. Or increase my giving and the way I handle my money. Not right now. I need a little bit more income first. Conflict of ideas at the emotional idea. And here's action. No action. Stops. That's what gets our attention. But all the while, the ideal moving through our mind, through our emotions, where there are no blocks and obstacles, because we have those places. There, whew, Spirit comes right down through our mind, through our emotions, through our physical being. Everything's working all in one, and we start taking action. Moving toward our desires, moving toward our dreams, getting really clear about what our intentions are. Now, I got to fast forward here. In the back of the textbook, you're probably aware of the fact that there are meditations. And so I looked at these meditations and I took some ideas, some affirmations, if you will, and I want to share a couple of them with you, and just as Reverend Linda did, then have you say them out loud, okay? So the first one, the spirit of infinite peace is within me. The spirit of infinite peace is with me. It is whole and complete. It is whole and complete. All right, now say that one more time, and really, whether you close your eyes or whatever you do to really ground into that spiritual idea. The spirit of infinite peace is within me. The spirit of infinite peace is within me. It is whole and complete. It is whole and complete. I am conscious of this perfect presence as my very own being. I am conscious of this perfect presence as my very own being. Now, when Ernest Holmes says, don't fool ourselves, what he's saying is that we embody, listen, eat, sleep, drink, immerse ourselves in these spiritual ideas until the blocks and obstacles from past experiences and the false beliefs that we formed along the way of life dissolve. Well, why? What's going to make that dissolve? It's a trump. Play the card game? Trump. Trumps it. Spirit, the ideal, it is a higher power. It doesn't change. It's always there in its fullness within us, waiting for the road to be clear, waiting for there not to be an accident along the way that has you sitting in traffic, which I'm becoming very familiar with, for twice as long than if the road was clear. The energy of spirit moves through us. So in this meditation, a little further down, Ernest writes, and I let whatever method it may to restore me to wholeness and happiness. You mean when I set my intention, or I begin to say that the spirit of infinite peace is within me, it is whole and complete and perfect in me, as me, through me, and everything that I do, that maybe something the opposite might show up? It says, I let the divine within me, using whatever method it may, restore me to perfect wholeness and harmony, and brings into my experience everything that is good and true. Oh, so you mean we set our intention and we let go? And we trust. I mentioned last month, trust, totally relying upon Spirit's timing. You mean I trust that everything that manifests in that process, even if it looks completely the opposite of my intention, is for my highest and best good, and that because I'm not going to fool myself, I'm going to say, oh, my false belief is being shown. Look at that. I set my intention and look what showed up. Now I know exactly what kind of spiritual healing work to do so that I can have a new realization. So that which I intend can become real and no longer just words. And then the divine ideal as me moves through my mental plane, and my emotional plane is clear, and I'm guided into action by Spirit. And it's easy, and we get to remember that we don't have to do it ourselves, and that when we set our intention, a whole lot of interesting things can show up, and sometimes it's like the man sitting on the roof in the flood who says, I've said my affirmation. Yeah, you've heard it. An infinite mind is going to save me from this, and along comes the boat. Oh, no, I've done my treatment. That's not it. Then the plane comes. No, that's not exactly it. I've done my treatment. Then the helicopter comes. Still, no, that's not exactly it. And then the flood rises. And so it is. Let's not fool ourselves. Let's know that this teaching is about us transforming the false beliefs, the error beliefs that every single human being who has come onto this planet has and will have. This is the evolutionary process. This is, there's one mind, whole, complete, and perfect, and it responds to my belief. And all the while, the divine lies in sweet repose, holding us, still expressing through us. We are safe. We are love. We are beautiful. We are harmonious with all our scars, all our wounds, all our doubts, all our fears. And we are love. I am, you are. Namaste.